My name is Jessica, and this is my Behavioral Management and Social Skills Screencast. What is the problem in the three pieces of evidence? The problem is that there are more and more students that are being identified as special needs, and more educators are being evaluated based on their students' academic performances. The first piece of evidence is that we need to limit the time spent admiring the problem. As teachers and educators, the time spent with the students is precious, and we could spend more time teaching them than figuring out what the problem is. So we need to spend more time focusing on solving the problem and admiring it. The second piece of evidence is to expand your behavioral management toolbox. As educators, we need to increase the number of tools in our intervention toolbox because all problems have different solutions. Educators also need to focus less on punishment and more on prevention and early intervention. The third and final piece of evidence is striving to understand the perspectives of all team members and stakeholders. Educators need to know and understand everyone's perspectives and work together to meet the needs of teaching students with behavioral challenges. Positive behavior support is also shortened to be PBS. It is a major initiative. It shifts the focus of behavioral management away from reactive and negative approaches to more proactive and positive ones. The Office of Special Education's Technical Assistance Center uses the following as their official definition: an application of a behaviorally based system approach to enhance the capacity of schools, families, and communities to design effective environments that improve the link between research-validated practices and the environments in which teaching and learning occurs. What research says about positive behavioral support. PBS is firmly grounded in applied behavioral analysis, area of scientific study supported by over 30 years of research confirming the effectiveness of various antecedent and consequence strategies, data collections, graphing, and monitoring. Positive behavior support embraces flexibility and values the information gained by research and case studies. The three-tiered model for positive behavior support. It is important that all students get universal intervention. At the top of the pyramid is the few students who need universal intervention. These students have chronic or intense problem behavior and covers 1 to 7%. The middle of the pyramid are some students who need universal intervention. These students are at risk for problem behavior, and it covers 5 to 15%. The bottom of the pyramid is all the students who need a universal intervention. These are the students without serious behavior problems and covers 80 to 90%. It is very important that we keep intervention at all levels because it helps cut down on other minor behavior problems. Just like with houses, you need a strong foundation that helps teach those students with more challenging behaviors. This is an image to understand the three-tiered model and how the bottom seems more strong. Also, when going from the bottom up, it helps interventions at the top be that much more powerful. The purpose of a functional behavior assessment in the three key concepts. A functional behavior assessment, or FBA for short, examines why problem behaviors occur in order to guide prevention and intervention efforts, increasing efficiency and effectiveness. Those with behavior problems can change their behavior quickly due to environmental variables constantly changing. There are three key concepts of an FBA. The first concept is setting events. Setting events exaggerates the likelihood that the problem behavior or behaviors will occur and make them worse. Some call it, you know it's going to be a bad day when. This means that once you realize what is causing the problem behavior, you know what signs or indicators to look for. The second concept is triggering antecedents. Students with problem behaviors often experience negative emotions. Then something little can happen and the student or students exhibit their problem behavior out of nowhere. Sometimes the events that will cause the students to trigger the problem behavior are internal factors. The third key concept is maintaining consequences. This refers to what the child or student gets out of it and what naturally happens after the behavior. Most students don't realize that he or she is doing this for any reason. It is often subconscious. Process of evaluating a child with FBA. I'm looking at this from outside the teacher perspective. First, we need to know what is happening in the classroom and if it's occurring in other places around the school. Then you need to sit in during class to observe the student's behavior. Now it's time to fill out the form. You need to describe what the problem behavior is, what things trigger the behavior, what consequences were previously set up or added new ones, and what the current plans or strategies to fix behavior is. You can also ask the student's siblings if they notice anything occurring while on the bus or in the hallways. Then the final thing to fill out is some questions about the student and what the summary statement is that the group has agreed on. This is the first page of the FBA. During class, we did a scene where one of the students was acting up while the teacher, who was another student, tried to teach. We then used an example and filled out an FBA for him. This is what the form looks like after we filled it all in. The first section is the student's personal information. The second is where you describe the problem behavior. The third is the triggers. The fourth are the consequences that are set up. The fifth spot is the current plan or strategies that are in place. And the sixth is the student input, which is where you can put what the siblings said. This is the second page. The top is where you fill in things you observed about the students. And then the middle section is where you put the summary statement that the group has agreed on. There are 7 common functions of a problem behavior. The first one is to get attention or a reaction from peers and adults. When students do something and notice the teacher doing something simple in response, then the students see this as a reinforcement to their behavior. Second is to get something tangible. When the students see something they want or think they need, then they will do their best to go get it. Third is to get power or control. Students who are stubborn, rebellious, non-compliant, and manipulative try to change the teacher's behavior when the teacher is already trying to change theirs. This is often called counter-control. Fourth is to meet a sensory need. Most students need to seek movement, deep pressure, or tactile stimulation, which results in all sorts of odd and disruptive behaviors. Fifth is to communicate feelings. Some students who have trouble talking use their behaviors to help them communicate what they are trying to feel. Sixth is a result of a lack of understanding. Students have a hard time understanding their emotions, the emotions of others, and the mental state of others. Some students have a hard time understanding social rules, and this is called pragmatics. The seventh is to escape or avoid something. When students don't know how to do a task or assignment, they use their problem behaviors to get out of what they're doing. Students who are not good at school become stressed quickly, and it becomes a difficult environment for them to be in. The bottom line of FBA, behaviors are rarely simple behavior. When students show certain behaviors, it is because they are trying to communicate with you. Finally, consider why the behavior is occurring, and that will help you get to a more effective response. Model for intervention. The model for intervention is there for after you've identified all the problem behaviors. There are 4 tiers for an intervention. The first is instruction, prevention, reinforcement, and finally, undesirable consequences. After you have tried the top of the 3 tiers, and those haven't worked, then you can move on to undesirable consequences. This is an image of the model intervention, showing that the first step to try is instruction. Slowly move down, and if nothing works, you can do undesirable consequences. What I have learned that as a teacher or an educator, you need to read your students. By this I mean that you have to know what each student behavior means and why they are acting the way they are. You also need to know what is causing them to act up and how you can fix that. I've also learned that you need to try and correct the student's behavior before it gets too far out of hand, and then you'll have an even harder time trying to get them under control. The end.